各位，让我们把视觉拉回真正的大主题上，不是某一项技术，不是某一家公司，而是中国这个国家本身。去年夏天，比尔·格利在中国待了10天，这不是他第一次来到中国，而是第7次。而这一次，他刻意改变了目的，不再是和创始人、企业家交换信息，而是选择睁大眼睛重新学习。10天6座城市，高铁2次，新车的试驾，然后工厂的实地参观。这不是一趟商务的行程，而是一场现实的校准。他第一次如此近距离地感受规模这一个词的真正含义。深圳这一座在1980年人口还不到10万的城市，如今已经超过2000万。夜晚不熄灯，城市像一台持续运转的机器。你站在那里，会突然意识到，美国对于中国正在发生什么的讨论，往往建立在一种完全抽离的想象之上，而现实远比想象复杂。在美国，对中国最常见的误解来自一个词语，那就是共产主义。这一个词在许多人的脑海里面，主动对应着自上而下、国营主导、资源错配、缺乏创新的画面。就像俄罗斯那样冰冷的建筑，缓慢而僵化，而中国的运行方式完全不是那样。国家提出方向，而真正的竞争发生在省与省之间。每一个省的体量几乎都相当于一个中等的国家，官员的升迁与否取决于繁荣、就业、增长和执行的结果。这一种制度并不完美，它制造过过度的建设、空城、鳄鱼的项目，但它也制造了极端激烈的竞争，而竞争正是创新的催化剂。当你把目光放在太阳能、电动车、机器人这些领域上，你会看到数百家公司在同一个赛道上厮杀，没有温和的护城河，没有长期的保护期，失败者被迅速的淘汰，幸存者被迫进化。这一种残酷的程度，甚至比硅谷更直接。这也是为什么中国可以在全球市场上持续推出价格更低、执行力更强、更新速度更快的工业产品。这一趟旅行中，最具象的一站是小米工厂。比尔·格利早在2005年就认识雷军，那时候他还只是一个电商公司的管理员。后来，小米成为全球第3大手机的厂商。再后来，在制裁阴影逼近的背景下，小米选择进入了汽车行业。这并不是一次从容的产业延伸，而是一种应急的反应。雷军在一次内部演讲中清晰地说明这一点。如果有一天手机都无法做了，那公司该怎么办呢？答案就是把自己重新变成一家制造型的公司。他的方式非常原始。他向员工借出200多辆小米汽车，然后让员工写出真实的反馈。这不是精致的市场调研，而是一种自下而上的工程起点。但真正让人震撼的不是情怀，而是执行。从零经验到建厂、投产、交付，从一位从未造过汽车的创始人到完整的工业体系。当比尔·格利站在工厂里面，看到那一条生产线的时候，他就意识到一个被美国长期忽视的事实：中国并不是靠某一家企业在推进，而是靠一整套制度化竞争在加速。甚至连美国车企的最高层也开始意识到这一点。福特高管来过这里，把一台苏七运回密歇根，还亲自开了数周。那不只是参观，那是一种确认。这一趟中国之行最终改变的并不是某一个结论，而是一种判断方式。当美国还在用旧模型解释中国的时候，中国已经在新的现实彻底跑出了原有的坐标系。那我们看一下视频。
Big topic, big country, China. You spent 10 days there over the past summer. What was your experience? What did you see? What made an impression? What did you do?
I'd been about 6 times before, so this is like my 7th trip. One thing that was different, my daughter is an Asian studies major, as you were.
Yeah.
and she spent the summer in Hong Kong. So we picked her up and then we toured 6 cities in 10 days. And my objective with this trip, in the past trips, it was mostly just to meet with entrepreneurs and founders and mutual sharing of information, that kind of thing. This time I was more interested in just kind of being eyes wide open and learning. And so we took 2 of the high-speed trains, just as an experience set. I got a tour of the Xiaomi factory with their new car, the SU7, and was trying to get a feel for what's kind of most recent there. And we, went to Shenzhen, overnight city, which has gone from, I think, less than 100,000 people in 1980 to 20 million people, just to see the scale and scope of the whole thing. There's a lot of rhetoric in the U.S. about what is or isn't happening in China. And I just wanted to have a better feel for it. And we're making policy decisions that are going to impact, the global footprint, and God forbid, end up in a World War III kind of situation. So anyway, I just wanted a better understanding. I was aided by the fact that Dan Wong shared his book Breakneck with me right before I left. And I read it while I was there, which was interesting. And then it came out, and of course, it ended up on the bestseller list. But I think China's misperceived in a lot of ways.
What are some of those misperceptions?
The biggest one is that people who have a rudimentary understanding of what is happening there use this word communism to infer a lot of other things. And one of the things that's inferred by communism is top-down state-run system. And they think of Russia, and they assume, well, that'll always lead to bad capital allocation, no innovation, because they have this picture in their mind of these brick buildings, like with snow all around them and not much happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality there is just far, far different from that. I think Dan Wong did a great job of explaining how the country puts out this 5-year plan, but then the provinces, they're a lot bigger than a U.S. state, but they're the equivalent, like it's how the country's segmented. They compete with each other. And the effective mayor of the province, if he does well, has a chance to move up in the system, which is not a reality in the U.S. system. But what that leads to is just a massive amount of competition.
What are the metrics by which they're being judged? Do you have any idea on a province level? Is it some equivalent of GDP? It's not the right term, but
I'm guessing probably.
Yeah.
Like we could go talk to AI and get a better answer than I have right now.
Yeah.
But I would think that's part of it. Prosperity, employment, those kind of things. By the way, this provincial competition has also led to overbuild of buildings. Like it's not always positive, bridges that aren't used.
Ghost cities.
Ghost cities, yes. But you end up with hyper competition. So I think the thing that a lot of people in Silicon Valley love about capitalism is this notion of the invisible hand and competition that leads to innovation and best practice, and the winners rise up and they're better for it. That is happening there. And if you read about the solar industry or the EV industry or now the robotics industry, they have hundreds of different companies competing in these fields. And it's brutal competition. And as a result of that, they're ending up with very innovative companies, which once again, I think people wouldn't prescribe to being possible in a communist, world, and remarkable execution from an industrial standpoint. So the price points of the products that will be sold around the globe are well below anything that could be done in the U.S.
How do you go about getting a tour of a Xiaomi factory? I would think that they would be very closed about that. What's in it for them, and how do they?
I don't know if you saw this going around the internet yesterday, but they shipped a car to this YouTuber.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Which
Absolutely.
is brilliant. And he did like a 15. That's the SU7. That's the factory I went to. As I mentioned, I'd been there before. So I met Lei Jun, who's the founder of Xiaomi, in 2005 when he was chairman of Joyo, which was a e-commerce company that Amazon bought. So he's been around a while.
Yeah.
He has evolved into the best thing I could say is like he's the Steve Jobs of China right now.
Mm-hmm.
When he quit doing Joyo and he had this other company as well, he declared 10 years ago he was going to build a smartphone. Just out of the blue, I'm going to build a smartphone. He didn't have any smartphone experience, but Xiaomi is now the third largest manufacturer of handsets in the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And about 4 or 5 years ago, at about the exact same time Apple hinted they were interested in building a car, he said, I'm going to build a car.
Well, not only did he say, I'm going to build a car, but that was a response to sanctions, right? It was an emergency. I listened to I listened to the translation of, even though my Chinese is decent, but it's not as good as it once was, I think it was 2024.
That's it.
Company-wide address where he talked about the sanctions coming in, saying, what if we couldn't make phones? What would we do?
That talk is unbelievable, and it's translated on YouTube, and I would encourage people to watch from about minute 30 to about an hour 15, which is where he talks about his process for designing the car. I don't know if you saw that part.
Yeah, I did.
But it's crazy. He says he put a note on any car in his parking lot that he had never drove, and he would ask each employee to give him 3 positives, 3 negatives, and loan him the car. He said he drove 200 of his employees' cars. When you hear that kind of stuff, you're like, wow, I wonder if anyone at Apple did that. I mean, it's just such a kind of bottom up, just ground truth way to start the process. But even still, even if he did that, like a bunch of people could do that, how do you have the wherewithal to build a factory? He'd never built a factory before. I've been in other car factories here in the U.S. It was phenomenal. Anyway, back to your question, why I could get in is I knew Lejeune from way back.
What does the process look like? Are there a bunch of clearances and you have to get the okay from the provincial?
I don't think we went through the whole factory, but no. I mean, they're a public company. I think they're interested in
the exposure,
being well understood.
Yeah.
Which I think hints at why they enabled this. I think they had to send a car to this guy, the YouTuber.
Yeah.
And by the way, the president of Ford went over there about 6 months before I did, went on the same tour. So they let him go there. And he had an SU-7 shipped to Michigan, and he drove it for several weeks. And he's talked about how incredible it is.